Good evening. So actually, I came back last night. I came back from the Boston MIT to give my talk about the Rodney Brooks redesigning workshop. Anyhow, I prepared 81 slides. Therefore, I suppose maybe 30 seconds I have to switch the slide. Anyhow, as Takashi introduced, I'm a professor of Osaka University, and I'm not a cognitive science. I'm not a psychologist. I'm just a robotics researcher. But my desire is that to make a robot to speak something. Okay. Also, I'm the research director of the JST ELAT project, and we recently renewed our page. So please visit geap.jp. You can enjoy the many video clips and so on. And also, I'm one of the founders of the RoboCup Federations. So first of all, I'd like to show you some video clips from the RoboCup. I suppose maybe, have you ever seen the RoboCup before? Please raise your hand. Okay. There are many. So this indicates that, I believe, unfortunately, the Sony already retired the robot business. Therefore, we cannot see anymore. But it's very, very interesting. So in this case, the hardware fixed. So therefore, many teams participate by using the programs. So the competition of the programs. It has many degrees freedom, but the working style is already converged because we exchange the working information of the strategy. And then one team found that this is the best working for the running of this robot from Developmental. It's a kind of, it has many degrees freedom. And also, we introduced the human leg since 2002. And this is 2004. And still not a game, but just PK. So Team Osaka, the head coach is Professor Hiroshi Ishiguro. Okay. So it has omnidirectional vision camera on top, and then stop, and this goalie right there. actually, this time it was allowed, but now it was not allowed. Okay. Anyway, so they set the direction, and then they set to kick. And exchange. Very cute. And then too late. Okay. And 2007, we had the first match between the robot team and human team, because the final goal of the RoboCup is to be the team of the 11 humans that get a win against the human World Cup champion team by 2050. So only 32 years left. So anyhow, this time the robot team is a champion team of the middle side league, and then the human team consists of the RoboCup trophy because no play happened. So anyhow, this time the robot did not have any arms, therefore the free kick. But everything automatically decided by the robot team. That means the computer control. So one player comes in and then make a free kick. Okay, this time we painted the ball in the color in red because image processing captures the image of the ball position, and also the ball is this is followed by the robot team. Because this time, the robot team had not prepared for the match with the human teams, just exhibition. Therefore, the human teams just are supposed to be the obstacle. So this guy, the Peter Stone, the US trustees, and he's very good at playing the soccer. Okay. So I'd like to show it a bit more. Okay, so the make a shoot. Okay, so the score was 2-0. The robot team lost. But anyhow, it's a very, very interesting game. So I'd like to show a little bit more because there was a very exciting situation that the goalie of the robot team make a good saving. Okay, so anyhow, we start from the kickoff of the robot team. Okay, so in the robot team, top has the omnidirectional vision system to point it out the upwards, and then there was a palm mirror, and then capture the whole image. Okay, so the robot team tried to get the ball and also interact with the pass and so on. And then, okay, so the back pass, and then, okay, at this time, the goalie make a good save. Okay, so this is a 2007. So the color is, the board color is painted in red, and also the field side is this one. But last year, this is the final of the middle side wheel. You can see the very huge tube, and also the board is not painted red or red anymore. So all the gold is normal gold. So that kind of challenge of the visual structure. Okay, so this is fine again, and I suppose maybe the blue is a team from Europe, and the red is from China. So the blue team make a pass, and then shoot. Yeah, this is very nice. So this year we have the RoboCup 2012 in Mexico City this June. So please, if you have time, please visit there. So this is the introduction. So today I'd like to talk about the 4 or 5 topics. So my desire is like to make the robot much more intelligent. But what is the intelligence? Well, why the human can be intelligent? Therefore, that's a big question. So therefore, we focus on the development of the human development by using to study about the human development by using the robots. Okay, so how do humans and the human develop? So what's the human development? Okay, so I was born in 1953, and this is elementary school, junior high school, and the high school students. And when I was an undergraduate student, I got married. And then I was in the University of Maryland in the US 1 year, and this is the first RoboCup, and I enjoyed karaoke in Shanghai. This is a typical human development. Okay. Anyhow, so this comes from the textbook of the neuroscience. So you can see that how the early brain development. So every 2 days, 18 days from conception, 18 days, 20 days, 22, 24, every 2 days the embryo changing and form some structure of the brain, like this one. So in these days, maybe the gene coding may be dominant to make some structure of the brain. After 24 or 25 weeks, so the almost same structure, maybe the brain, almost same structure as adults. So the features obtained, but the connection not complete. So about the behavior and the sensations, what's going on in womb? So this axis indicates how many weeks after the conception, and the vertical axis indicates what kind of behavior. For example, the sucking and swallow already happened around the 12 or 13 weeks. On the other hand, about the sensation, so the first sensation is touch around 10 weeks or something, and then the auditory vision started around before 20 weeks. So currently, we can see the same real movement of the fetus. For example, in the 26 weeks, you can see that fetus touch his or her own face so often. Okay, and also this slide shows the 36 weeks just before the birth. So the fetus open the eyes or open the mouth and so on. Okay, so many people suppose that the kind of learning may happen after the birth, but probably before the birth something happened already. And after the birth, there are different kind of behaviors the newborn baby obtains. For example, at 5th month, the hand wriggle, just look at the hand. And this kind of behavior is supposed to be the kind of the line of the forward and the inverse model of the hand. Okay. So the number indicates the month, age, and the blue indicates the infant behavior, and the black indicates some kind of learning target from the viewpoint of the robotics. So at the 6th month, fingers as a pace, that is the integration of the visual tactile sensation of the face. And at the 7th month, drag the object and observe the result. This is very, very important, the causality and permanency of the object. And also at the 8th month, we hit the object, or drag the brain and imitate the movement, the glass fence, and so on. So just 1 year, the newborn baby obtained so different kind of behaviors. So we are sure the robotics researcher cannot build such a robot just 1 year. Therefore, many people suppose that, okay, so from the beginning, something happened. So the big element, nature versus nurture. This guy is not literally, and he mentioned that versus is wrong. So no longer is it nature versus nurture, but nature via nurture. So nowadays, nature side and nurture side closely related in the different levels, and then this makes our humans. Okay. So the point is that from the viewpoint of the design theory, to what extent we embed something, and to what extent we can expect some learning from the environment. So we designed this robot. Have you ever seen this one? See the square? Please raise your hand. Okay, thanks. So this robot is our first introduction of the baby robots. Actually, this is 1.3 meters and 33 kilograms. That's not the baby, but the proportion is very huge head. Therefore, we suppose that half a year. It has a 52 degrees of freedom, or a cylinder type, and the whole body covered with skin. Silicon skin. Under this, we put on the 200 tactile sensors, and also it has visions, and also the auditory, and right. So we embed some kind of reflexive behavior. For example, react to the sound, react to the lighting direction, lighting, and also we embed some preference with the lighting direction. So this guy sees here, just look for the lighting direction, and then also he tried to turn out to seek for the light. Okay. So we have shown this video clip to the medical doctors, and who mentioned that this type of behavior is not normal kids, but maybe it's autistic children, because autistic children, the normal kids turn over by one leg, but I have no idea why this situation happened. Also, my colleague didn't know it. Anyhow, so why such a baby robot? Because we like to understand how the humans can be intelligent through the process of the building such robots that develop like humans. So why not such other approaches such as brain science or psychology? Because it is not sufficient for only one discipline to attack this mystery, but interdisciplinary approach seems promising. So the brain science sometimes tends to be so microscopic. For example, this is a figure like this one. So as each part of the brain research work like ants on the electric brain. Okay. If this was printed by in 1987, and nowadays we can observe the active brain something, but still it's very difficult to grasp what can do that, unrelated the details of the thinking organs. On the other hand, also the psychology is mainly the microscopic viewpoint based on the observations. Okay. So the basic idea of the human science, we like to make the science a robot like humans, but to do that, we have to know what humans are. So there's another pathway is that some natural science or some literature science. Okay, this guy is here. Okay, he invited me here. Okay, so this is the basic idea. So what the cognitive developmental robotics? So the cognitive developmental robotics aims at understanding the human cognitive development process by synthetic or constructive approaches. This core idea is physical environment and social interaction that enables information structuring through the interaction with the environment, including other agents. So from now on, I'll show some examples of the environment and social interaction together. And the final symbolic goal of the cognitive development robotics is language acquisitions. So as I explained, the robotics, the cognitive science, the neuroscience together, and the mutual feedback. Okay. So the robots are generally reliable agents as controllable, reproducible ones for the psychological and social experiment. So we like to study about the interaction between the caregiver and the infants. But sometimes the infants is very difficult to deal with. Therefore, we like to replace the real infant to the robot by controlling the psychological expense center. Therefore, in that case, the robots are very reliable agent. Or also the computer model to verify the hypothesis. So we like to seek for some principle of the development, the model, the computer model, and then embed into the robots and watch what kind of interaction may happen with the humans and so on. Of course, in your future, the robots are social agent. And then we set up my project. Okay, so the Professor Hiroshi Ichiguro, very famous guy of the Android, and his group is mainly social interaction, development of social interaction. And Yasuku Miyoshi, University of Tokyo, his group is focused on the feature simulation and cognitive development. And also Professor Komuso of Robotics University, his group is focused on the generation of the dynamic movement and especially the crawling and walking. And this guy, Professor Toshio Inoue at the Kyoto University, local people here, he has a different color. Means a different guy, means that these three guys are the robotics researchers, and myself, four. And this guy is cognitive neuroscientist. So based on the imaging studies or some joint research with medical doctors who cares autistic children and Williams syndrome, because both are two extremes of the the disorder of the language. So we designed the different kind of robots, the many robots. So often I was asked that, okay, can robot grown up physically? Of course, it is very, very difficult. So some researchers study about the what type of robotics, but it's still very difficult to see how the robots physically grown up or something. Therefore, we decided to design different kinds of the robots, different kind of ages, and depending on the different research topic. So actually, this shows some different pathway, and depending on the age of the mouse, so we focus on some different the research issues. For example, the 10th month, or actually our robot is 7th month, the crawling, or the 13th month, the walking, or some kind of the physical interaction, and so on. And before the birth, maybe some kind of previous simulation here. Okay, so this is Professor Yasuo Kunishi's group for the features and the neonatal simulations. So they embedded the features in the computer. Okay, so supposing that it has 200 muscles and muscle spindles, and also some neural systems, alpha neurons, gamma neurons, and so on. And the very small brain consists of the motor area and sensor motor area, and so on. So through the interaction, so each muscle has kind of the oscillator. So each muscle interacts with other muscles, but through the muscle skeleton system, a neural system, and also the environment in food. So this indicates some difference between the two features. One, it has very uniform sensor distribution of the tactile sensors. That is different from us. The other one is non-uniform. For example, lip and the fingertips has very, very high density of the tactile sensation. On the other hand, your back is very hot. So the non-uniform distribution of the tactile sensations. So from these videos, it seems difficult to discriminate two behaviors, but statistically, the two babies, two features show the different behaviors. And consequently, we found that the features with non-uniform distribution of the tactile sensors may learn some ordered behavior or something. Or we have the different kinds. So today I have not so much time, so therefore I see the details of the technical issues. But the top left indicates some kind of the rising gap behavior. In this case, the CV sphere cannot stand by itself. Therefore, he needs some kind of assistance. So in this case, we analyze the human behavior, how human behaves. My case, first time I failed, and second time I succeeded. Or someone succeeded from the beginning. So we had the princess from Thailand. She tried 5 times. She failed 5 times. So it depends on the individual. So we analyze some of the behavior of each individual. Or the top right, so this is our robot thinking. So what do you think? What's going on? Some communication or something? No answer? Okay, so we may suppose that some communication may happen, but it's actually random. One thing is just randomly, one robot copies other robots. Okay? So now we are using these robots to, we brought this robot to the hospital or the children, and then observe how these children, observe these robots, or sometimes control these robots. We didn't have any result yet, but in the future we'd like to utilize some results to care these boys. Well, this indicates some kind of running flow. It has artificial muscles, and we separate some parameters to run. At the beginning, it's just almost no movement, but after 2.5 hours, so this guy can move by using this controller. Or this indicates kind of some imitation game for the details as case, but this is very, very famous robot for the robot. And we put it in a white document. It has tactile sensors and so on. So, as a summary, in a project, we started with the simulations and also the sensory motor mapping and the higher order cognitions and some social behavior such as joint attentions, vowel imitations, and so on, so on, so on. And also, this indicates more details about the research topics. We have done totally 6.5 years. We have done many research results. So among them, I indicated some studies related to the language. Okay, one is the vowel imitations. The other one is the multimodal joint attentions for the class-facilitated one. That is the integration of the joint attention and left-front addition. The third one is a neural network for the language comprehension and synthetic processing. Okay, so we picked up the three different studies in relation to the language development. So I briefly catch the first two, and then I will give the details about the three. Okay, because of course all are related to our project, but the number 2 and number 3, especially number 3, is related to the physical environment and social interactions. Okay, the first one is based on the imaging studies, Professor Toshio Inui's group. So they found that some kind of brain lesions, and they made some model of the language acquisition and the comprehension model. So they found that the mainly consists of broad area and the broadline area 47 and the basic ganglia. They modeled to acquire the synthetic operations and symbol grounding. And they found that, based on the imaging studies, they found that these ones. And found the consist this kind of models. Okay, this is the imaging study. The next one is kind of some engineering solutions. So we prepared some kind of the mutual exclusive selection principle for the learning the multimodal mapping. In this case, vision and auditory. So the situation is like this one. So the human teacher teaches the robot by using the joint attention and utterance of the lexicons. So the situation is like this one. I'm not sure the. Okay. No sounds. Okay. So the caregiver teach or the first gaze to the object, attend to the object, and then after the level of the object. The robot, at the beginning, he has no idea about the combination of the left or right, center or the right, or the gaze direction, and also the name of the word, the level of something. So through the interactions, so the robot gradually learn how to gaze with to make a joint attention with the caregiver, and also memorize the word level and something. So as a result, we improve the success rate of the joint attention. So this is the normal behavior learning, just gaze behavior learning, and also the mutual exclusion is this one, and also the mulch. Mulch means using the utterance of the word and so on. So the success rate is increasing by using the proper model. And also about how many words, the number of the acquisition levels. So we're using the mutual multimodal joint attention and utterance or something, and then the number of words is increased by using this one. Okay. So this is just almost 24 minutes past. Okay. So that's today's future issues. How do robots vocalize vowels like infants? So, as I mentioned, the final goal, or one of the final goal of the cognitive developmental robotics is to acquire the language. But based on the physical embodiment, we like to start the vocalization. Because, of course, in our American Sign Language, ASL is, of course, the language. But to start thinking about the language acquisitions, vocalization is not easy, but it seems better way to start something. So the bio-imitation between the agent with the different artificial parameters by the polyphonic teaching, that's our research study. So the infants seem to acquire the phonics without any extra knowledge about the relationship between the sensory motor system and phonemes. That is articulation and listening. Okay, they do not seem to know this kind of relationship. They also there is the capability to reproduce other sound as they are because the different hardware. But somehow they can obtain the phonemes with the parents. How can the robot do that? So this indicates the human vocalization system. I just copied from the TD's book of the language, cooperation of the language in brain. So it has a very complicated system, and now the midbrain is working to control the vocalizations. And also from a viewpoint to the evolution process, our humans have much more projection from the cortex, so to control the vocalizations. Okay. So to inspire these works, we just designed a very simple vocal robot, not so facilitating the humans or Android, just a very simple silicon chip. So the question, the purpose is to build a robot that acquires the powers of the human caregivers. The design issue is what kind of the mechanism should be embedded from the beginning, and what should be the behavior of the caregiver. Okay. So look at the real situations. Okay. So infant speech-like cooing tend to make its mother, or the maternal imitation of the infant's cooing increase the vocalization rate of the 3-month infant. So the mutual imitation is a very good trigger for the infant to make some practice with the utterance. Because the mother is very happy if the baby imitates the mother's voice. Now also the baby is also happy if the mother imitates his or her voice. Therefore, we conjecture that so it reinforces the infant speech like cooing, and it helps to find the correspondence between the cooing and phonics. So we designed the robots, and we put down an artificial vocal cord and change the silicone shape, and then I put some sound. And also it has a microphone, and as a sound feature, we extract the format, F1 and F2 and 3. So the format vector, what's the format space? The resonant frequency change depending on the shape of the vocal tract. The vocal feature for the vocal discrimination. And the non-human parameters and the birth utilized as a first of the fields. So this indicates the format distribution of Japanese average females. This is R-E-E-A-O. What this one? Is it garbage? No, just a robot utterance. Therefore, the word sound is so quite different from the humans. But somehow we like to make the robot to get some powers. So also we put in a very simple small length, so auditory layer and the action layer. So the strategy is so this is some the robots. So the blue box indicates the robots. So at the beginning, so robots randomly cooing like this one, and here the caregiver. So if caregiver can interpret one of the sound as one of his or her own vowels, so he or she return his or her own vowels to the robot. The robot obtained some the format features and stores the format vector here. And also at the same time, also stores some action vectors, okay, to how change the shape of the vocal tract. So learning is like this one. So as I mentioned, so articulation, long cooing, and practical teaching, and so on. So we connect in spite of the mirror neuron system. So This is execution, and this is observation, perception. So we connect to do this one. Therefore, if the robot listens to some sound of the vowel, then this robot can demand how to vocalize each sound. So this is a sound connection. It's very, very intelligent system. So we have done some experiment, one Japanese guy, my former students, and robots. Okay. So after the interaction, so robot obtains some the cluster of the Japanese vowels. The attribution vector corresponds to the variation of the caregivers' vowels. However, there is an awkwardness in the correspondence. For example, sometimes caregiver randomly like this one. Therefore, some awkwardness happen. So we introduce some kind of the subjective criterion of the on the Hebbian learning. Less talk, less deformation changes. And we change the Hebbian learning to the modified one, considering these kind of issues. And after that, so the distribution converges to the very small area. Okay. So that's the result. Okay, here? It's okay? One more. Okay. Ooh. I'm sorry, we could not make it all so clearly. So many people think that this is not a baby voice. Middle age, after karaoke. So we changed to the air. Okay, the second one is but for the Japanese people, it means no, like this. And also, lip shape is also target for the imitations. And then this lip shape imitation accelerated learning 3 times. And then so do you feel any pain? So once a month it's broken. Therefore, all the time I change something. So of course this is the first step, just one vowel. But now we just try to the 2 vowels and also try to the words and so on. And of course, the consonant is a big challenge. So the group of the Waseda University, they have already designed the vocal robots with the capability of pronouncing the consonant too. But that's adults. So we would like to seek for some kind of the baby robot system and so on. So, and also after this experiment, so many people asked me what kind of behavior happened in the caregiver side. So the infant bowel development, many people suggest that some physical quantities of their producible vowels are different. The infant's audition and articulation adapt to mother's tongue. So the expressive dynamic process including interpersonal interaction and social interaction. And also one more thing is caregivers' affirmative bias, the delivery, kind of to the baby. So our anticipations bias our perceptions. The caregiver's anticipation for the infants can bias their perception and the imitation as well. Or the caregiver's affirmative interpretation and imitation of infants into nature's behavior develop infants' social abilities. So maybe the caregiver has this kind of bias. So we model these kind of bias at 2 kinds. The one is the perceptual magnet and the actual magnet. We just say the sensory motor magnet. For example, before 6 months, the babies around the world can discriminate the continuous change of the vowels. For example, like this one. But after 6 months, so due to the effect of the mother's language, mother tongue, so after the 6 months, even though we have shown the continuous change of the R to E, they perceive just R or E. This is a conceptual categorization. So the sensory motor magnet is like this kind of effect. So another one is this affirmative bias. That is just we say the automatic bias, by which the heard vowel is much closer to the expected vowel because the other's utterance is an imitation of the listener's own utterance. Okay, so we suppose that these two kinds of bias, maybe the caregiver side, affect the development process of the infant's verbal acquisitions. The first, we try to do some sensory motor magnets. Okay, so we gather the human subject as actually my students, so much bias anyhow. So we generate some concrete sounds, uniformly distributed around some vowels. And we just ask the subject to imitate the sounds, not the vowel. Please imitate the sound. The result is like this one. So they didn't listen to the sound as it is. They like to listen to the sound as their vowels. Okay. So therefore, the outcome is, the variance is converged much. This is some proof of how the human beings have some tendency to the perceptual or sensory motor magnet. Second one is the automatic bias. This bias is similar to the placebo effect. Okay, so we have the two groups. One is the control group is just please imitate the sounds. The experimental group is that please imitate the sound. Sometimes computer imitate your voice. The actual input is the same, but the reaction of the subject is different. Okay, so this is some result. Okay, so suppose that at time t, so the subject pronounced something. Okay, at t plus 1, the computer will react. At time t plus 2, the subject will react again. So we measure some difference of the subject to utterance at time t and t plus 2. If the subject expect that, okay, computer should imitate my own voice. At that time, if supposing that, the utterance of the time t and t plus 2 is very similar. Therefore, the difference between the control group and experimental group is like this one. So statistically, some significant difference. So where the experimental group suppose that, okay, the computer sometimes imitate me, and then therefore I imitate you or something. This is some difference happen. So we set up some kind of computer simulations, supposing the sensory motor magnet effect and also the automatic bias. Okay. So as a computer model, this indicates the automatic bias. The other's voice ST is biased to automatic anticipation SZT minus 1 and converted to SVT Z given by this one. And about the sensory motor mapping module, we use the normalization network to map the other's utterable vowel regions onto the listener's one. And by changing the parameters of how much the sensory motor magnetic effect realized. Okay. And this is some transfer functions. So the automatic bias, the sensory motor mapping, and the active module, and so on. So this indicates some results of the computer simulations. So we suppose that this is the methods about regions, and this is a blue one, and the red one indicates some kind of the infant robots about the regions. So this pentagon indicates some primitive of the powers. So if we have two biases, so the blue and the red indicate some interaction between the caregiver and the infants. So as you can see, if the mother has two biases, so the interaction is like this one, and then almost collectively the infant vowel is converged to the right place. On the other hand, if so this indicates not automatic bias, only the sensory magnet effect. Therefore, converge very quickly back to wrong position. Well, in this case, no magnetic bias. Therefore, only the automatic bias. Therefore, the directions may be okay, but no convergence. No ether bias or the chaotic situation happen. So actually, we need some the balance between the two biases. So this indicates the sensory motor magnets, and this vertical axis indicates the automatic bias, And if we choose carefully the parameters, we obtain the very good interaction. Otherwise, some wrong correspondence. Okay, the summary. So cognitive robotics is a promising approach to new science of the human cognition with design theory. And the physical environment and social interaction are keys for robots or infants to develop their cognitive function. The design of robots and their environment as close as humans produce a new research issue to be attacked. So the many people claim to be, why not using the speaker? As I explained, by supposing the physical environment, wherever less talk or less recognitions, the robots obtain the powers. So the physical environment enabled to introduce subject criteria such as less talk and less recognition, easy to vocalize. And now we introduce the expression to realize the turn-taking with the caregiver for the natural interaction. Now we are designing more realistic infant vocal robot with artificial brain. Okay, the design theory policy is like this one. Okay, I have already passed some time, so I just speed up. Anything that's we'd like to study about the interaction between the caregivers and infants. But infants is very difficult to control. Therefore, we need some more realistic baby robots. So to study about some emotional interaction. That means to realize some kind of some real emotional interaction. So we designed these robots, and the one of our students. Actually, in case of the Android, the Professor Hiroshi Ishiguro, he is good at the design the Android, and he has his own copy. But in that case, we get the phone from a real person. So in that case, maybe the humans should stay 1 hour. I forgot exactly. Therefore, they are very, very painful face, like this one. So the normal face of the androids all the time, like this person face or something. So in this case, in case of the baby, we cannot do that, of course. Therefore, one of my students picked up some good picture of the baby, and then make a model and the clay model and get the form and the rest. So next two video clips also you can see in the YouTube. So this is with skin, and this is with earth skin. Okay. So it has almost more than 20 degrees of freedom, and it has some artificial skin. Just we say human skin there or something. So in the video you cannot perceive the touching, but if you touch, it's so realistic. And in this case, the eye is mimic, no TV camera, because if we use a TV camera, it's not so realistic. So anyhow, this only shows us the head, but now we have the torso, and then like some interaction with this kind of movement. Anyhow, acknowledgement is. These are the group leaders of the Professor Hiroshi Ishiguro, Kogo Soda, Yasaku Miyoshi Toshioni, and also the Professor of the project, Dr. Yuichiro Yoshikawa and Dr. Katsumiura, and these three candidates. Okay, thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. We have 12 minutes for discussion. Please raise your hand and say your name and affiliation.
No questions? Everything clear? Yes, the reception is closing, therefore the people have to be there. Yeah, I'm staying here, so you can ask me personally or any questions.
So that is okay. So I have some.
Haven't you modeled the caregiver side?
If I understand your questions, did we model the caregiver side, right?
Yes.
So in case of the sensory motor magnet and automatic bias, that the two bias is one of the assumptions of the two model of the behavior of the caregiver. And we just a very simple psychological experiment indicated that maybe human may have such kind of tendency to have the sensory motor magnet and also the automatic bias. That's the some simulation result of the interaction. So in that case, we suppose that we model the caregiver's behavior of the utterance, interact with the infants. Did I answer to the question?
My question is, model caregiver style with robots.
Oh, robots. Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, yeah, right. So, yes, you are right. So, real infants and robot caregiver.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I suppose maybe the parents still, right? So, because we can get some important concept before the experiment with the caregivers, but we cannot get such a kind of important concept from the infants, from their parents. Therefore,
or robot infant with robot caregiver.
yeah, robot infants and caregivers we have some.
Robot infant interacting with robot caregiver.
Oh, the both robots.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. The in case of the simulation is the both, robots.
Yeah.
But you suppose that the real one, real robot infant, real robot caregiver. Okay, that's a kind of challenge. Okay. Next time.
Armoré, from the seniors in France. What would be a robot monkey? What would be the difference between your robot and a monkey?
Oh, I didn't imagine such a question, right? Sometimes we suppose that, as you mentioned, we suppose that robot so handicapped. That means that in some sense, similar behavior for children, or some the vocal system, like the Williams syndrome, because in the case of the former, still it's very difficult for the robot to generate a speech by his or her own. Just some replay, some already given the model or something template. But our desire is that robots, by him or herself, to generate, to speak or something. That's covered. So in that sense, it's very similar to the autistic children. But in case of the Williams syndrome, for example, the AI system prepared dictionaries, many lexicons, and some templates. That's a kind of normal voice recognition system. In that case, speak too much. But the system does not realize, does not know the real meaning of the sentence and so on. So two extremes. Therefore, my desire is that, so in that case, in the former case, it is in a sense similar to the monkey. The monkey cannot speak, but still, I'm not so sure what the difference in reality. Because I suppose maybe monkey, some primate researchers, proud of their monkey, right? So I suppose maybe monkey also has some capabilities and many things that are different from the humans. But the robots is still, less performance, the very handicapped, and some sense of the developmental disorder. Therefore, even though compared to the monkey, still, I suppose maybe, robot still is less performant than monkey. Did I answer to the questions?
Yes, you say that you want robots to learn language, but language is not limitation of strings of sound. Right? So in order to develop the language, you have to have a conceptual intentional system. And then you will have to have abstract meaning, much as Massimo just mentioned, specific part before, which are cross-language, cross-specific language that enables this mapping to come about, sensory, motor, and conceptual intentional. And in most cases, you will have to deal with abstract entities, so entities that you will not perceive. So how are you going to treat DP anaphora? How are you going to treat ellipsis? How are you going to treat concept thoughts? How are you going to treat WH movement? So WH movement. And I could go on and on and on and on. So I don't really understand when you said that, you must have not modalities. There's some properties that enable it. Whereas in fact, what enables you have connections.
Yeah, because you are right. So the title of my talk is Towards long distance. Therefore, in my project, this one, the red part is only the part of the whole project. The whole project is a joint attention staff or some, there are many research issues. And in my mind, we like to integrate everything, but still it's very difficult. So as you mentioned, the attentions or the vision, the auditory, the touching, all kinds of the sensors, and the cross-modal mapping, and also the motor development. These kind of issues should be together to think about it. Therefore, of course, we realize some kind of difficulty we have. But in future, like to, of course, one thing we are doing is that all the time we seek for what's the human therapy. That's similar to the space science. Okay. Space science, to what extent we do maybe next week. So even though we try to imitate the human beings, but still there are some differences may happen. Therefore, probably we may be able to realize very similar but still differences happen. Therefore, we suppose that this difference is an essential part for the language of the humans. That's my thinking. Therefore, all the time, attracting or the challenging to the humans' capability all the time make for us to attack the new researches all the time. Therefore, the language is all the time the long range the goal. But not only the language, but also the cognitive functions together should be developed together. And then maybe as a result, we'd like to make real robots that can speak by himself, by herself. Of course, I realized the real program, but today I just showed only the link to the plan. I'd like to discuss at the reception with Rainy.
Do you have any other question or comment? I have one.
Oh, sure.
So, of course, we can learn from the language acquisition. We can learn the origin and evolution of language from the language study of language acquisition. But I think that people don't catch the connection of your research, constructive research about the language acquisition and to the origin and evolution of language. So how do you think what we can learn from your robotic research about the origin and evolution of language?
Actually, I don't think so.
You think we can learn?
Yeah, we can share. At least we can share some very fundamental research issues. And then probably the approach may be different.
Yeah.
So our approach is a purely bottom-up approach. And sometimes, as he asked, what the difference between the monkey and the robot, that's a very right question.
Yeah.
Because, not simply the motor development or the physical embodiment, it not guarantees the language acquisition. So we need more. Therefore, in my talk today, we just focus on the physical environment and social interactions. And we suppose that social interaction triggers some kind of some hints or something. Therefore, I suppose maybe physical embodiment is a necessary condition. It's very similar to the other animal, but social interactions are another one. And then, I suppose maybe in case of the human, it's very unique. Actually, I believe that the story about Kant is Salamba's talk. I'm not sure the original title of the book. Kant therapy, Kanji, the voting chimpanzee, pygmy chimpanzee, the Kanji. So many primitive researchers deny. I know. But for us, it's a kind of a hint to design or something. Okay. So we may have some hard discussion, right? It's okay. I'm ready. So.
Yeah, concerning the kanji, it is very easy to understand that in the comparative cognitive science, we have the same ancestor, but on the different branch now. So we can compare human ability and Sanji or chimpanzee's ability, and where is a common part and what is a different part, and common part will be acquired before the planting. But about the development, we cannot compare like a chimpanzee and human baby and robot baby and human baby. That is not on the same lineage.
Mm-hmm. But some researchers mentioned there some the similar pathway of the autistic children and chimpanzee. For example, the imitation, the attachment is necessary to teach the imitation of something or other things. Therefore, very, very superficially, I believe that there are some common part of things.
So, in that line of reasoning, I thought you found that two biases are necessary, auto-mirroring and magnet biases, to do imitation. I think it's a great finding because we can take auto-mirroring as a cue to integrate this area of study and language acquisition study, and we can also study what animals does auto-mirroring and so on, and what is the mechanism of auto-mirroring. This will be interesting.
Yes, actually, we suppose that the auto-mirroring virus is not limited to this one, but we can like to realize, generalize this kind of the concept to the development itself.
Look, it's quite an engineering feat for which you must be really complimented, but it has anything to do with what we know about how children, acquire even the sounds of language. A few hours after birth, we know that they can make a difference between the mother's tongue and another language. They already can do that. We know that they are sensitive to all the phonological contrast in all the languages of the world, and then they lose it, when they get to the 11th month. We know that they have categorical perception, so you have a continuum of variation of the first 4 months, and it makes a sharp, transition. So all the things we know about how, children do this, it seems to me completely different from what we're seeing here.
As you mentioned, this is a kind of the engineer solution. So we embed some kind of some artificial cues and so on. But actually, we like to realize some U-shape, as you mentioned, at the beginning with performance, and then limited performance, and then again like this one. So actually, in our group, we have shown, for example, in case of the joint attention. So we suppose that immature vision first, and then, so at the beginning, so the infant is very coarse, very rough image as a whole, and then gradually changing. And this bias enables the infant get the more, accelerate some joint attention. That kind of the story is a very similar situation of the infants. We believe that also in this case, the infants is starting from the very, very immature stage and then gradually happen. Actually, today, I skip, due to no time, I skip some details about the developmental process of the motor skills. So at the beginning, the motor skills and also the perception of the listening skills are also very, very unmatured. And this makes, good things for the infant to develop because at the beginning capture the whole things everything together and then gradually separated. If the infant has from the beginning, if the infant has a very fine acuity of the vision and fine acuity of the perception, it's very difficult to find some right correspondence. So today I have not shown this result, but if you have time, I'd like to show this kind of situation. Of course, as you mentioned, it's very, very different from the children, real children happen. But we'd like to find some kind of the common essential parts between the human development and the robot development.
Okay, it's time to drink. Thank you very much for this.
Thank you.